drummers against implied timekeeping, and oral history of heavy metal, part 1. I want to have some fun and just tell you a little bit about my experiences of living in Los Angeles, California at the advent or the beginning of the metal scene there. I had moved to Los Angeles in 1980, and it was maybe at the height of hard rock, Van Halen, those sort of bands, because things were starting to change, especially with punk music. But what was interesting was metal was in its infancy in Los Angeles. And I got to tell you a little bit about that, what I saw and what kind of experiences I had. Now, as a disclaimer, and this is a big disclaimer, this is my opinion and my opinion only. So please bear with me. Of course, we all have the bands that we loved, but I kind of want to tell you what I saw and how I came away with it from that experience. Now, in 1980, things were changing. There was kind of either the punk new wave scene, either hardcore punk, pop punk with bands like the Knack, and they were just beginning to have some metal bands. And the first metal band I saw in Los Angeles in 1980 was Iron Maiden, just before they were famous. It had Paul Di'Anno on vocals, and I think the drummer back then was Clive Burr. So it was, I think, when they got signed to a major label. And they played at the Whiskey A Go Go on Sunset Strip. And I remember it was packed with a lot of industry types, but I came away somewhat disappointed at the band. They were good, but not stand out at the time. I could tell that they were going to be big. They were going to be pushed very big. And they did a lot of things that were very tight, from what I remember. It was really loud, of course. And the guitar players were playing a lot of harmony riffs. It was more melodic, if you can believe it, with Paul Di'Anno on vocals. But I came away with them good, but not great. I just thought the parts were not, the sum of the parts were not great. They did the things that they were trying to do, and the songs were okay. But when I look back on it, definitely Bruce Dickinson was a big plus for that band over Paul Di'Anno. I never found out why they got rid of Paul or how they got Bruce, but that was a big plus for them. And you know, Clive Burr was a pretty good drummer. I know he passed away a few years back. Clive was good, but not great. So interesting, that was my view of them in 1980-81. The second band I saw at the beginning of metal was the second gig or show of Motley Crue. They played also at the Whiskey A Go Go, and they were not signed. They were highly touted, and a lot of people, the word passed around that they were very good, especially the drummer, Tommy Lee. And I do remember that show, and I've got to say, Tommy Lee was absolutely great that night. In fact, the other members, Mick Mars and Vince Neil and Nikki Sixx, were not really good on their instruments at all. But Tommy made up for it in spades. He was absolutely great that night. And interestingly, it was only their second gig ever. It was packed. And there were a lot of drummers at that show. I remember seeing Carmine Appice there. I remember seeing Jeff Porcaro. Can you imagine? The guy from Toto was at this show looking at Tommy Lee, plus a whole host of other drummers. Tommy had a profound influence on a lot of early metal drummers because of the showman things he put into the whole thing. Plus, he had the snare drum as high as I've ever seen any drummer. But he was tremendous. You gotta believe me. He didn't have the greatest technical chops, but what he did have, he utilized them in the best way possible. So, you know, definitely, Motley Crue was in the early metal scene really great. Now, they went on to be glam metal, really, but I just want you to know, the early show, second show, they were really great. I also saw, I think, I can't be sure, one of the earliest shows ever, and definitely the first show in Los Angeles of Metallica. They played out in Reseda, California at the country club on a 6-band bill. And there again, they were good, but definitely they didn't stand out compared to Motley Crue to me. Um, uh, then they had Cliff Burton on bass, and I have to say, looking back, Cliff had a lot to do with that band being tight. They were, just developing as a team, if you will, but they stood out a little bit, but not a lot. They were good, but not great. No doubt about it. Sorry to say, in my view, I left thinking, because there were other bands on that bill. There's a band called Pandemonium, and Dark Angel was on that bill. And they were good too, but not great. None of the bands stood out at that show. So I just want to let you know that in the early heavy metal days, that's how I saw them. Obviously, they went on to be huge. I also saw the earliest gig ever of Dokken, and I have to say, Dokken was fantastic. Everyone knew how great they were because George Lynch was the guitar player, and George was known by everybody. He was like kind of Eddie's rival on playing guitar, shredding it, And Dokken, I thought, there is a band that is going to be huge. But interestingly, they didn't become as big as Metallica. But I wanted to make this video just to let you know, the early days, certain bands were unbelievable. And Dokken would be an example, or Motley Crue would be an example. But not Metallica and not Iron Maiden. It's just weird after 45 plus years, or I should say, how much was it? More than that, 46 plus years, how it kind of, you look back on these things, or I should say 35, 36 years, you just lose track. But interesting how I see them looking back. And I want to share that with you because bands develop in a different way. Some bands are great right away and burn out. Some bands are not great right away and develop and get big and get better. And this is the whole thing about music and bands and this sort of thing. Everyone is different. It's a different group of individuals that develop in different ways. But those are 4 I've got to tell you about. Now, there are a ton of other bands that you do not remember that I had seen, but they never made it big for whatever reason. The singer quit or whatever happened that happens in the life of any band or musician. But I want to share with you those 4 bands I saw their earliest gigs and what I came away from them. If you like this sort of thing, I want to continue with it because I saw a ton of other bands. I saw the earliest gigs of Dead Kennedys and Bad Brains in Los Angeles when they first came out. And these are in different genres of music, but I was going to every possible show I could. And I was very happy because I lived there in Los Angeles from 1980 to 1997. So every possible style of music that came in, I had gone to see. And I want to share it with you if you like, but metal is what I really want to discuss because I think a lot of the people who are coming onto my channel are drummers of that style. But there are different ones, funk and pop and fusion. But right now I just wanted to do kind of an early history of some of the things that I saw and the particular bands that I had seen in those years in Los Angeles, just to give you an idea of how I saw them and what I came away with, all right? If you enjoy that, let me know. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me on my YouTube comment section. I'm on twitter.com/drummersagainst, facebook.com/drummersagainst, implied timekeeping. Click like on that. And welcome to everyone who's visiting for the first time. My catalog is very extensive, and I'm teaching specifically playing in the open-handed position, which should hopefully enhance your power, your independence, and what I'm trying to do is increase your creativity as a drummer. And if you haven't, please subscribe, because your subscription is the support for me to continue and the inspiration. Thank you always for that. So this is kind of my oral history of heavy metal, Los Angeles, part 1. And if you do enjoy it, I have so many other things I'd like to share with you that I think would be of interest to drummers. So let me know what you think, and ask me and I'll be glad to answer. So I have a lot on the technical side always coming. But periodically I like to just kind of talk about these things and see how they resonate with those of you who are looking in. My best to all of you, and take care.